Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Barbell. So this video will really just be a training log wrapping up the last week of my second block, writing my own programming again. And luckily I made a video a few weeks back about taking things slow and building momentum and hopefully things leading into big PRs at the end of the block. And luckily I don't have to eat my words, and that actually did happen this time. So on the subject of writing my own training and getting back on my own coaching again rather than working with somebody else, I think that that's probably something that people are curious about, so I can talk about a little bit. So the last 2 months I've been back writing my own training again, like I did for the majority of my career. I worked with Mike for about a year or so, and there was just some crazy times during that time. You know, there was a lot of success, but I got hurt. Then the last maybe 4 or 5 months of my life have been crazy with the gym and coronavirus. And, now training out of my garage, which is now for sure a choice, but at first that was forced on me. So there was just a lot of chaos. So the original decision was just about getting things more under my control and trying to feel like I had a sense of control maybe in any area of my life. So this is the end of my second block doing it, and I'm having a lot of success at this point. But that could have happened regardless of who is training me. So I don't think that there should be any sort of, anybody should read any further into that than what it was. But on that same note, I do think that now, having experienced both things, for me personally, I don't know that I'll ever really be looking for coaching outside of myself again. I think having outside influences and talking to other people has been really important to me. But at this point, I'm finding more and more that my buy-in is much more. My buy-in is increased when I'm writing my own training, and besides that, not just my personal buy-in into my own training block, but my investment in coaching others is improved. Where I think me writing my own training and kind of stoking that side of my brain, lighting that fire there, has continued to make me a little bit more creative and invested in writing other people's blocks and really just coaching in general. And so I think that's a positive thing, whether it is the best thing for me as an athlete or not. It does seem like it's a very positive thing for me in my coaching. So that's something that, again, I've learned from the most recent few months, that all around I'm feeling like I'm enjoying my job, my work, and I'm also enjoying my training. So one of the things that we're seeing right here is these paused sets of 8. They're not very long pause, but the intention with these, when I programmed these, was I just did not really feel comfortable, confident squatting. I felt like I was having a lot of reps that felt different from one another. And so the goal here was not really long pauses. The pause was just to force me to, control and feel steady, feel what I wanted to feel during the descent. And so, there's, even if some of these pauses are short, I think the intent of the lift is still there. But pause sets of 8, or even sets of 8 in general on squats, has not been something that I've ever done or really even make people do. But it was interesting experiencing this, that I had a number, I think 240 kilos was the number in my head that I was expecting to finish the block at. And, that was just a number I chose because I felt like it would be uncomfortable, it would be difficult, but it would be achievable. But then my squat really started taking off, and I guess specifically on these sets of 8 was that my single at the end of the week was staying about the same. I squatted 270 or 280, the same for 3 weeks in a row, but my sets of 8 were just taking off, and I was feeling confident in these, and somehow I was feeling excited to do them. So I started going a little bit more aggressively and ended up hitting this pause squat, this set of 8 with 260 kilos, which, previously, even in the last block, I was excited to do a single set of 4, no pause, no nothing. My squat was just feeling really awkward. And so that on its own, the 260 by 8, I think was a pretty good accomplishment. But then, in context, it was much bigger just as far as the progress that I had gotten there. So my squat certainly did much better this block than it had previously. So bench press this day I actually had in mind. Normally I bench pressed pretty well on day 1, but I was pretty gassed from those squats and maybe mentally drained too. So I was going to go heavier than this 175 kilos, and it was fine. But I just felt like, nah, I think that's probably fine. So moved on. This is my second day. This is more of a higher rep bench accessory day, and I was actually hoping to come in and hit 160 kilos or 160 or 165 kilos for a set of 8, which I'm not sure. One of those is my PR, but I was hoping to match it. So then warming up here is actually on this set. I got about halfway through and felt like I had a kind of a pull in my pec, and that was something that was a little bit not worrisome. You're on the last week of the block, so you just have to make a good decision and say, well, probably isn't the time to really go after some crazy stuff. So instead of going up after this set here, I just repeated the same load and it felt okay and moved on. And I think that'll be part of the tone of this week, and it's something that people can take away from it, is that I came into this week really feeling good on all 3 lifts, feeling like I had a lot of room to progress everything, and I wanted to go after some PRs on everything. And then day 1 went really well, and then coming into here, day 2, now I have this pec kind of pull, and so I'm thinking, okay, well, my bench press isn't going to get to show up with any sort of PR or anything like that this week, and just not letting that affect the whole training process or anything overall. So, by the way, I put this clip in here in general just because these loadable dumbbells have been one of the best investments in. So if you have a home gym, these are called strap grips or something like that. That may not be right, but they were a very, very good thing for my home gym. So anyway, those are enjoyable. But day 3 is my deadlift day here, and going to this one, I posted on my Instagram that I'd had a good bit of redemption pulling 340 kilos or 750 pounds fairly easily the week before. So I was thinking, man, maybe I'll get back up around 800 pounds or so. My deadlift had been feeling good. Unfortunately, I used straps a whole lot. You'll see today I used straps, and that was I tore my hands on the second and third week of this block, so I just didn't feel like I wanted to risk my grip being an issue. I haven't really trained my grip effectively up until this point, so I end up using straps, and that may have affected some of it. I generally actually think I pull singles better without them, but my grip strength is a little bit of a liability at the moment, so that'll be working on that a little bit. But anyway, my deadlifts, I actually felt really good warming up, and felt like I was going to be able to take some pretty aggressive jumps. And then this day just kind of ended up fizzling out a little bit, where and it could have been me taking a little bit more of an aggressive warm up than I normally take. So I did this one, I'll do 270 here, and then I jumped from 270 up to 320, which I normally do 300 kilos in between. But this was one of those where you're number hunting a little bit, and I changed my warm up pattern just a little bit, and maybe that ended up affecting things, but maybe I just wasn't all that strong. But again, this was something that I wasn't all that strong today. I think easily I could have gotten in my head about what that meant for the rest of my training week, because my squat was really the one that I felt like was improved and still improving the most. And having this day go not poorly, but not as well as the week before, you just have to move on, and you have to continue making the following the training rhythms, and not getting into your head and creating some sort of catastrophizing about something, saying, oh well, that was worse, maybe my squat is not going to be as good as what it was the previous week, even though I had big numbers in my head. So that 750 left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. So I figured, okay, well, even though my grip is liability, it'll make me feel really good to hit this nice paused deadlift to finish what I anticipated being the last really heavy work of the block. And so that was a good one to leave it. But all of my lifts at the moment, my squat, bench, and deadlift have really come back around. And I think one of the big things, I was thinking about timing recently, and how we would be 3-4 weeks out from Raw Nationals at the moment. And at this point, maybe I would be prepared, but I don't know that if Raw Nationals would not have been canceled, that I would have been comfortable in this mental state to be able to make this slow kind of training choices that I have without forcing things. And so over the last 2 months, and particularly this last 1 month, my training has really, really taken off. And I think a big part of that is me knowing that there wasn't a timeline, that I didn't have pressure to be back being good again, as soon as I possibly could. And so the sense of relief that I got when Raw Nationals was canceled this year was I almost felt guilty about it, knowing where I was at, but also being the competitor that I am and wanting to be on those stages and get on that platform with the other guys. But it was not something that I felt like I was feeling ready for. So to everyone that's potentially struggling with motivation and not having as many options to get on the platform, I think you can use the current situation to be something where you make really good training decisions and invest in your training and just continue to work. And it has absolutely benefited me in my recent training, and I feel extremely motivated even though there's not major meets coming up. So anyway, this day went back up to Brazos Valley Barbell. This is actually the first time that I'm training up there outside of my garage in a while, and it was really because I had this big squat planned. It turned into a full YOLO mock meet, and that was not the intention. I was coming in and I had a squat bench deadlift day planned, and then I just felt really good warming up for these squats, and so ended up just deciding it's the end of the block, it's the last day of the block, no more work to be done, let's just see what we can do. So ended up the whole day with an 875 kilo total. The squat currently, my best squat is 295 kilos, and I squatted in a meet, and I squatted 325 kilos. I bench pressed 195 kilos, which is above my meet PR of 192. And then my deadlift, I essentially matched my PR, and I went for a PR single, but missed that one, a lockout. But regardless, this is at least equaling the strongest I've ever been. And at this point, I'm leaving this block feeling healthy. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling like I have forward momentum. And so it's really exciting to be hitting these numbers, but also feeling like I'm now in a position to continue to progress. So these really, that rep right there, 280 and now 300 kilos on the squat, were some of the most, particularly this one, even more so than the 325 that I do next, had to have been one of the most exciting squats of my life, because this legitimately felt easy. And I used that little velocity based tracker, and this one clearly had this at about a 6.5 RPE, meaning I could have done a set of 5 with this, and I for sure felt like I could have done a set of 5 in the moment. So this is 5 kilos above the best squat I've done in a competition, and feeling ridiculously easy. So made a 25 kilo jump. Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do, is to jump 25 kilos to this huge heavy squat, but I had this number in my mind, and I was feeling fantastic. So 325 kilos loaded up here ends up being a little bit of a grind, but I was extremely pleased to be able to knock this one out. And 5 kilo all-time PR. I think when I squatted 320, that rep was probably high, and I don't think that would have been comp standard. So this was a huge accomplishment, I felt like, for me to be able to knock this one out. So really, really exciting day, finishing well above, I think my first single of the block, I squatted 270 kilos at like a 7 RPE. So to finish 325 kilos, obviously at 9.5 or 10 on that, but still, even 300 kilos at a 6 would have been on its own without any sort of PR would have been tremendous. So finishing up kind of the bench press and deadlift stuff here. But anyway, this is a very, very encouraging place for me to be ending. To have even kind of this random good day is super encouraging. So I'm excited to continue to build. So by the way, if anybody is interested in following along with the programs I'm doing, you have that option. If you send me an email, you can click on the website, and there's all my coaching options. But for $20, I actually will give you the exact programs that I'm following at the moment, which is exciting too. It's enjoyable to have people following along. You can track your stuff and use the exact RPEs and percentages and those kind of things. So it'll be delivered monthly to you if that's something you want to follow along, especially now that I'm getting stronger again. There may be more people interested in that. But anyway, it's always encouraging, always exciting to have as many people following along with things that are going on here. And it's nice to feel like I'm actually a contender again. So that one matched my deadlift PR, this 815, and the heaviest I pulled in this block was 750. So even being able to make this jump was pretty exciting. So anyway, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.